Hello, my friends. I welcome you to the third part of the interview series with Mr. KT LWIN. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hi, thank you, and good morning to you in India. We are here 1 hour ahead of you.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I'm ready
Good
for
morning,
your
sir.
interview.
Good morning, sir. So how are you, sir?
I am good for my age, I would say. This morning I got up at 6 o'clock. Then I said my prayers, and then I went for my walk. And then after walking, I went and sat at a cafeteria in our estate and had a flat white coffee without sugar. And then I had chat with some of the friends, and then I climbed up the stairs 5 flights to my apartment just to tire myself for exercise. And when I was back, I had my breakfast, a healthy breakfast. And then while I was having my healthy breakfast, I saw that your dad was online and was ready. So I asked to be excused for half an hour so I could have a quick shower and get ready. So I'm good.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So let's begin today with a very interesting question. Sir, please, I have heard about your story of getting 9 lives and being lucky to survive all the times. This is a huge coincidence. Please tell us about it.
Well, yes. Have you heard a saying called "a Siamese cat has 7 lives"? Yes, that
Yes.
is a saying. Yeah. Now I'm claiming as a Burmese cat, I have more than 7 lives, 9 lives. That is my claim. All right. To prove my claim, I have to show you the 9 lives I have gone through. And all this happened from the age of 1 year to the age of something like 28. Yeah. But the episode that I most really I find that is most exciting, the one that I nearly died, is episode number 4. That's the one that we'll talk about now. Okay. So this was in 1948, the year of 1948. Do you remember when India got independence? Do you remember?
Yes.
Yeah, tell me when,
When
what
India,
month and what year?
I think it got independence in 1947.
What month? June or something?
January.
January, is it? Well, we were 1 year later in 1948, January. Okay. But the difference was that we were coming out of the Commonwealth, whereas India and Pakistan and Sri Lanka stayed in the Commonwealth. That's a difference. All right. Well, when we got our independence in January 1948, we had to prepare before that, a month before that, about the celebration. And we decided to have a president instead of we don't have the king anymore, so we prefer to have a president. And we thought out of the main ethnic races in Burma, or five races, we would circulate rotate the president after every term. So the first race that we selected was the Shan, and then Burmese, then Kachin, Karen, and so on. So the Shan the president that we selected happened to be what you would say a Maharaja in India. You know, Maharajas had their own little province that they control. The British treated them like a little king to be. So the same way we selected this gentleman from Shan State as our first president. Well, this president, or the to be president, the president elect, he had been educated in England and he is very English. So he thought that he should treat himself like the British king. So he told the independence celebration committee that hey, look, I want to have a RAL barge on the Day of Independence in the big lake in Rangoon, and I want to be in the lake with this RAL barge and go around it so that the people will stand at the bank and wave out to me and say to greet the new president. So that was his wish. But he told us, or to the committee, about 3 weeks before the event. So this company, this committee thought to themselves, oh, this is in the lake, something to do with water. We had to go to the Navy and ask the Navy to get do a RAL barge. So they came to our chief of Navy, the first chief of Navy, the Burmese chief of Navy, who happened to be my mentor. Well, he was told to get this RAL barge ready for the president. So I was his, what we call staff officer operations, his number one man. I was only 22, but he relied on me for a lot of things to get things done. So he called me and said, hey, SOO, my title was SOO, Staff Officer Operations. Yes. Now go to the shipyards in Rangoon and ask them to do a RAL barge for the president. Sir, I said, and I went off. Then I visited 3 shipyards in Rangoon that they have at that time. And I said to the shipyard manager, we would like to do a RAL barge for the president. He said, yes, no problem. We will do it. How much time have we got? I said, no, we got it. We got barely 3 weeks. Not impossible. He said, this is no good. We have to do a proper design, and it takes about 3 or 4 months. So I left him and I went to the next shipyard. They said the same thing. Then I went to the third one, and he also said the same thing. It needed more planning and more time. So I went back to my boss and I said, I've been to the 3 shipyards and they cannot do it for within 3 months, 3 weeks. It take them 3 to 4 months. So my boss looked at me and said, young fellow, he said, try and do something. We only have 3 weeks. Do something. And then chased me out of his office. I went back and I thought to myself, what the hell am I going to do to get things, the RAL barge in 3 weeks? Okay, then I went home. I couldn't sleep. I was thinking, I cannot disappoint my boss, neither can I disappoint the new president. So I was thinking, what should I do? Yeah? And then what happened was I suddenly had an idea. Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you heard of Jeep? You know what is a Jeep? Jeep, Jeep, Jeep. You might not know. It's a small car for the army during the war. Jeep is an open car. You know a Jeep? Have you seen a Jeep in India? I don't know whether it's still around. Have you? Jeep.
What? Yes.
Is a Jeep, Jeep. It's the American Army car for combat.
Yes, it's a car brand also. Yes.
It is a passenger car for open car. Okay.
Yes.
So that is a Jeep. So well, then they also during the war they invented a Jeep that go in the water.
Oh.
A Jeep that can go in the water and on land, called duck. This is something that was only used during the war. See? So then I remember that I've seen these ducks during the war. They could slowly go in the water and go up on the beach. So I thought if I can get a couple of these ducks and put a platform, maybe I can make a RAL barge out of that. So I had a brainwave. So next morning I went to the British Army depot. They were pulling out of Burma, so they were on the winding up. So I asked them, "Hey, can you lend me a couple of your ducks Oh, he said, you can pick any of these. There's so many lying around here. We don't even know how to get rid of it. So I borrowed these 2 ducks from them. And then I brought them back. I drove them back to the lake, put them in the water, put them together side by side like this. Yeah. For example, like 2 ducks like that. Then became a platform. So I put a platform around it. It's about 20 feet by 20 feet. Then I told the carpenters, now you can make a rail barge out of uh, bamboo and out of gill and out of fancy paper, gold paper and all that. Make it into a duck, into a rail barge. And how long will that take? About 10 days. Okay, do that. No? So that was done. It was a what we call a makeshift rail barge. Rather flimsy, but it will serve the purpose. So when it was finished, I tried out. It would move very slowly and move around the lake, but it's good enough for the president and to Raj to be there. And then we have also a dancing girl dancing in front of him, all that. So that was done.
Yes.
Now that was called a Raul Bach that I made. Let me see if I can find it here. I might be able to show you it, but I can
Yes.
send you that. That is a duck as made by the American Army. It's a boat and a
Yes.
car combined. Okay.
Yes.
Now I borrowed 2 of these, put them together, then I made it into a rail barge. No, uh, that is a rail barge. After it's made up, I don't know whether you can see it there. See it? A bit dark, no? But I'll send you the photos later on. Okay, no, that's the idea. That those things only the 2 ducks were platform. They're built on top. Okay, no. So when the day came, the 4th January 1948, and the president came to the marina where this thing was alongside the lake, and the president came with this new Rolls Royce. Very government give him a new Rolls Royce for as a gift. So he came in a new Rolls Royce, and he and his wife stepped down from the car, came to the barge, saying, "Climb up the barge." Now, on the ship, when admirals and VIPs come on board, we pipe them. We have a bosun pipe. We pipe them. So we did the same thing. I said we treated this like a ship. So as the captain, as the president and his wife came, we piped them and saluted them, and then they sat down. And others also came on board. After they came on board, we left the marina, and slowly, this is like we started from here. So gradually we went up slowly like that. The people were on the bank right down. They were waving our president, along the bank. But we crawled. Okay. Then as we crawl, this thing has more windage. When say windage, your father would know. Windage means any structure which
Yes.
is high, but the wind will make it move sideways. So this barge has some windage. So it was going very slowly, but it's also moving sideways because of the wind. So I had to control it so that it doesn't go that way, but I want to go that way. So that's the way that we went on. So it was all right up to the end of the lake. Then we turned around. We turned around and we came back. Came back. When we came back, the wind at the back. So then the wind was pushing us faster than we could go, and it was really going out of control. And I was feeling very, very excited because of this. I could not control very well. And if I now go back to the marina, now it'll be laughing stock. So I tried my best to try and get near the marina. Luckily, I had some boat handling training on the DUFFERIN. On the DUFFERIN, we had 2 or 3 motorboats that we allowed to handle. So I knew something about boat handling. but I did my best. That what happened that I didn't know was this is the barge, and you have the flaps down up to the water, right down, you know, up to the water edge. Then this the jeep or the duck, the two ducks have engine. They have exhaust going out from the back. In a car, the exhaust come out and goes out. In this case, the exhaust was stopped by this board. So it was not going out, but circulating inside. See? And then it's
Yes.
coming up. I was sitting about here. It was coming through. In those days, we were very ignorant about inhaling exhaust. We didn't think it is very serious. You know? Nowadays, you know that you cannot, you go and inhale exhaust from an engine.
Yes.
Well, I was driving the presidential barge, that the makeshift, what you call it, ducks, the military ducks put together, and the royal barge, the temporary royal barge, pillar of bamboo and gold paper and all that on top of that, and the president inside. And I was taking him around the lake. On the way back, I found that I was breathing the exhaust, which should be going from the back out to the atmosphere, but because there's a big flap at the back, closing the exhaust pipe, the exhaust was circulating inside and coming up from the cockpit, and I was smelling it, and I was smelling it without realizing I was doing that. So on the way back, I felt funny, and I knew something was not right. So I managed to try and get the barge alongside to get the president off, and that when the internet stopped. So I'll go from there. So as soon as we docked alongside, rather harshly, the boys, the seamen who were taking care of the ropes, they jumped over and tied up quickly, and everyone got on the ship, of the boat. And then I saw them all go off, and I was very relieved. And all of a sudden, I passed out. I became unconscious. Then I didn't know what was happening, but I was unconscious about maybe a few minutes. And then when I sort of surfaced, when I woke up, and then I saw a lot of people fanning me, yeah, like that. And then I saw a doctor with his stethoscope and on my chest and all that. And he said, Boji. Boji is a Burmese word for lieutenant. Boji, lieutenant, you are very lucky. Another 10 or 15 seconds, you'll be dead. So anyway, I said, oh, yeah, why? He said, you've been inhaling all this gas from the engine. This is dangerous for the lung. And in those days, nobody knowed about mouth-to-mouth resuscitating. No, this is nowadays everyone knows. At that time, this is something new. Nobody knew, and nobody could do that at that time. So luckily, I did survive because for some reason it was my good fortune. So that was a time that I nearly died doing something for the country, but I would not be a hero. If I died then, I would not be remembered as a hero. But then I was very close to death. So that's the time that I was very close to losing my life for the country. And I think this episode 4 is very important for my 9 lives. So what do you think? Audio is gone again. Audio is gone again. How is that?
Yes, sir. I could not hear
okay.
you. What you were asking?
I was asking you what do you think of that episode? Whether what do you think of it in the uh, as far as losing your life for the country.
Yes, well, that answer, that is very interesting. It is a very honorable way to die, but you were alive, so it was very good, and it was a very interesting story. Now, can you please tell us more about the other stories?
Yes. Now I will start from the episode number 1 when I was 1 year old. When I was 1 year old, I had 3 elder brothers, and they had never seen a pram during that time. But the prams were introduced when I was born. My father managed to save a bit of money just to buy a pram for me. And I used to cry a lot. So my mother would tell my brothers to put me in the pram and take me out, and then so that I would stop crying. So this became a regular affair. In the afternoon, they would put me in the pram and go outside the school compound where I was born and into the pavement, and they would push me around the pavement and just to keep me quiet. And then they thought of a better idea that at the pavement, the two brothers, the elder one and number 2, would stay about 20 feet apart. And the elder one would push the pram towards the number 2 brother. The pram would go roll along, and the number 2 brother would catch it and turn it around and send it back to him, like a good seesaw going up and down. The third brother would just stand there and watch what they were doing. So it just went on for a while, and then my eldest brother got a bit bold, and then he pushed the pram rather hard. He was expecting that my second brother would be able to catch it. Unfortunately, my second brother did not catch it, could not catch it, and it slipped and went in the drain next to the pavement. And the drain is about 4 or 5 feet deep. So I went inside the drain, and I was there. So they rushed down, and when they looked at me, I was not breathing. I was unconscious. So the third brother yelled out and said, "Oh, I fainted, or whatever." My mother came running out, didn't know what to do. Then my grandmother came out, and my grandmother had a presence of mind, so she rushed down and jumped in the drain, and she used her sarong to cover me up, envelope me in the sarong while I was unconscious. And that somehow, I don't know why, maybe because she tried to, what do you call it, trap the oxygen or whatever. So I survived. I woke up. And that was the first time that I nearly died when I was 1 year old, So that is my story of episode 1.
Yes.
Then I'll go on to episode 2. Yes? Ask me.
Yes.
Anything else?
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Yes. Now I'll go to episode 2. Episode 2 was, let me think. I had to remember in order of happening. Episode 2 was, I think, when I went to DUFFERIN. Yeah, when I went to the DUFFERIN, that was the time when I was going on the DUFFERIN and being trained there. And on the DUFFERIN, we have what we call evolutions. I mean, we had to drill. If there was a fire on the ship, what would we do? If the ship was sinking, we had to abandon the ship. How would we get in the boat drill, fire drill, all this stuff. We practice every Sunday to keep us on our toes. And one day we were practicing the fire drill. While we were practicing the fire drill, what happened was the cadets were allocated for various jobs. Some people had to get the canvas hoses. Some people had to get the fire extinguisher. Some people had to man the pumps. Now there are pumps that you turn round and round to get the water up to the hoses so that you can fight the fire. There's on a ship a downturn pump. It is about 10 feet long, and it is manned by 5 cadets on each side, to 10 cadets, and they just turn and make some pressure so the water comes up. So I was allocated to the downturn pump among with other 9 cadets. Unfortunately, at that time, the 9 cadets were from India. They're all bigger than me. They were at least 5 feet 6 above. I was only 5 feet 3. And we were wearing life jackets as well. So we were turning, and I was turning with them, tiptoeing to reach out to their height. And as we got faster and faster, they were turning. I could not follow. Then as I was jumping along to follow the turn, and all of a sudden, the handle caught me at here where I had a life jacket, hit me here and took me with the pump round and threw me against the steel wall, what we call bulkhead, and I was knocked unconscious. When the pumping stopped, stretcher party, stretcher. So the 4 guys came with a stretcher. I was put into the stretcher, and they were going to take me up to the hospital where the doctor was told, and they were waiting. So while we were going to the hospital, they came to the main deck. In the main deck, we were practicing. This is the hospital up here. The main deck is here. The gangway is here. The boats are here. We are practicing boat drill as well. So when he came up from here to here, the chief officer thought I was a dummy patient, only a fake patient for the boat drill to go down in the boat. So he pointed out, he said, take him down the boat. So they were going to the stretcher, they were going to take me down the boat to here. Then the doctor is waiting for me up there. And he said, where is the patient? He's down here. Oh, he's a real patient. Shouldn't go there. Better you got to bring up to the hospital right away. If I had gone down and got to the boat, I think I would have died because I was really unconscious. Instead, the doctor managed to get me up on the hospital just in time, and he revived me. So that was the second time that I nearly died. Okay? So
Yes.
you're happy with the second episode. Then the
Yes.
third episode. The third episode is something that is also, it didn't happen, but I was supposed to join the merchant marine and join a ship called the El Medina, owned by India Steamships. When I passed from the DUFFERIN, they say, and he allocated me to go on the El Medina. But unfortunately, I did not have 500 rupees to make the indentures for them. And those they delayed my joining. Eventually, I could not join, but the Navy, the governor of Burma suggested I should join the Navy instead. So I joined the Navy instead of joining the El Medina. Then I was sent a call by the Navy to go to Chittagong from Bombay all the way across India by train to Calcutta. And from Calcutta, I was to train and go to Chittagong. So to cut the story short, I arrived in Chittagong, I reported to the Navy, and they asked me if I want to join the landing crafts or the flotilla. Flotilla is the gunboats. So I said, I prefer to join the flotilla. Oh, then you must go to Calcutta to join the flotilla. So you must go on a troop ship, leaving tomorrow, go back to Calcutta and join the flotilla. So next day I boarded this troop ship, and that troop ship happened to be El Medina, the ship I would have joined as a cadet. It took 4 days for me to go to Calcutta. So when I got to Calcutta, I got off, and the ship turned around, go back to Chittagong for another trip. And during that trip, she was torpedoed by a Japanese submarine and she sank. I missed it by one trip. Now, if I had joined the Al Medina as a cadet as intended, I would have been on the ship. Or if I had done this trip one trip earlier, then I would have been on board as well. So that way, I had a narrow shape of being sunk with the ship. That is episode number 3. Okay, you got that?
Yes. Yes, I'm following, sir. Now,
Yes.
so yes, sir. No, you can continue.
Yes.
Yes, sir. You can.
Episode. I had to jump from 4 to 5 now. We are done 4, right?
Yes. Yes, we've done
Yeah. All right.
We did 4 first.
Yeah. Yes. So we are going to number 5. Now, number five was when I was in the Navy. Okay. I was in the Navy. I joined during the war. Then I went into the Burma Navy when we were independent. Then after independence, 1948, I was in command of a converted river gunboat. That river gunboat was actually converted from a tug. From a tug, we put guns on board, and I was in command of that boat. And I had a crew of about 12 on board. Anyway, in those days, we had a lot of political changes in Burma. There were communists, there were socialists, there were the other irregulars. So many of them, they're all fighting the government. So one day, I was asleep on my boat alongside the jetty. Then a guy rushed in, and then grabbed the revolver that I kept under my pillow. He grabbed that revolver and then he pointed at me and he said, "We have taken over your ship. We belong to the Burma Communist Party. So don't do anything that might cause me to shoot you." And I look at him, he's one of my crew. Originally, I said, "Don't play the fool. This is mutiny. You'll be hung if you do mutiny in the Navy. Don't talk too much," he said. "You get out to the bridge." So there's a leader there. And then I was dragged to the bridge to see the leader. And the leader said, "Oh, all right. We want you to show to the way to up the river to our headquarters." So I don't know your way. I said, "I don't know the river." "Oh, no, you know everything. You know about the route. You are very good at this. Show me." So I had to pretend that I knew, otherwise I would be shot. But instead, I showed them the way down the river and up the river so that they go to the sea. Then they went down the river for a couple of hours. Then they look at the compass and they realized they were heading south, not north. So they said, they knew that I was trying to pull a fast one. So they said, get him back to the room. But we don't listen to him anymore. So they turned back and they went up. And then they tried to go up the river along the bank. They found a fisherman, asked the fisherman the way to where they want to go. They got the fisherman on board. The fisherman was showing them the way. By then, it became dawn. So I wasted 2 hours by making them go south. So then what happened was, at that time, when my boat and another sister boat were captured, the war officers knew about it, and they were very alarmed because those boats had Bofors gun fitted on board, and they're rather dangerous that they might attack our rest of the Navy boats. So they said to the Air Force, "Now you got to sink them. Somehow you got to sink them." So the aircraft that they were going to use was a Spitfire, wartime Spitfire, and the deputy chief of staff of Air Force himself would he was also a Spitfire pilot during the war. So he was the one that going to attack us and sink us. So he took off and he came round, circled round, and then he tried to attack us. Then the insurgents or the communists, they got my crew to man the gun and pointed the pistol at them and made them try to shoot the aircraft. So my boys actually were lucky that they didn't learn to shoot aircraft. There was no need. They were only taught how to bombard the shore. So they missed. And then the Spitfire pilot realized that it's a bit dangerous to attack. So he went circled around and he came back from the back. So where so they can shoot us. So I realized what he was doing. So I called out, I jumped overboard because our boat is very, very small and near the water, so you can hang on. So I told her, jump over the water and hang on. But my crew listened to me. But the insurgents, the communists didn't trust me, so jump into the front hole. And when the Spitfire came, attacked us from the front, we were safe. But the front part was holed, and some of the communist insurgents were killed because they would jump in the hole. Anyway, the ship was beached and she was grounded. So, and the tide was going down. So the insurgents got on a launch, took away all the small ammunition and small arms and everything, went ashore, left us on board with a sinking ship, but she grounded. So we jumped over, but only by now 3 feet or 4 feet. We plugged all the holes, and I told my boys, do your best quickly because the right, the tide come back to the ice and float us up. So we did we worked very hard and got it floated. When we got it floated, we started the engine and we could move again. When we started moving, the communists saw us moving, so they came back in the launch and again attacked us, took over. And this time they took us, they wanted us to take all the way up the creek. So we went up the creek and then there we anchored. And then they removed us, to the shore where there was a jail or prison. And this is actually the drawing of Spitfire, and we were there. Yeah, we nearly got sunk by the Spitfire. And this is the boat, the plan of the boat here. Yeah, over there. Yeah, it's a river tug which is converted. Anyway,
Yes.
we were captured and kept in the jail for roughly nearly a month, and we escaped. This is the jail. We went back. I went back a few years ago to take the picture of the jail, and this is my crew, my loyal crew, who escaped. You see them,
Yes.
the way they were. But the day we escaped.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
the two officers are here, my best friend and I, and then the rest were all ratings. Now you see that I was wearing a leather jacket, and that
Yes,
was
yes, the
leather
one,
jacket.
the one your father got you from America. You told us.
That
in the
that is
previous-
right, and yes, that is also the one that I wore. I wore when I went with a gun to ambush the current battalion. The same jacket. See? All right. So that was my episode number 5. All right. So I nearly died, because I would have been shot up by our own Spitfire. That sank our ship. But we jumped and we managed to escape them. Okay. Then I'll go to episode number 6. Episode number 6 was the time that I told you that we went with our small battalion of the army to try and stop the Korean battalion on their coming down from the highway. But we ambushed them at night. No, actually, this is artist drawing of that. I'm over here directing the fire, and there were 4 people manning the gun and the others supplying ammunition, and I was here. Right today, that gun is in the museum, and 2 years ago I went and took my picture there. Okay, you see that? That's the latest picture in the museum. All right. Now this one, we risked our life. We were lucky that we ambushed them at night. They didn't expect us. So we were lucky that we didn't get killed. But when we finished this operation, we were coming back to Rangoon. And I managed to capture the jeep that belonged to the current CEO of the battalion. So I was driving the jeep, and my assistant was next to me, and the gun was being towed by a truck at the back. So we were coming along, we were getting near Rangoon, and there was a bend in the road, and I saw an army truck coming down. And he was driving at speed, but this bend, so I turned quickly to the right, and he turned, but not fast enough. So he went over and went inside. So, but I looked, and they were quite safe. They didn't capsize. They were still standing, but they had a close shave. So I went along, but they were angry that I nearly hit them. So they turned around, and they came up, followed me. They went in front of me and stopped me here. I docked. As soon as I stopped in front of them on the road, they all got down. There were about 30 soldiers with an officer, and they went around my jeep. The 2 of us were circled by them, and they were aiming their weapon at us, and they were abusing and using bad language and all that to us, make us angry. I had this carbine here next to me. So I thought if they're going to shoot, I had to shoot also. I went to touch the carbine. My assistant said, "Sir, don't touch it, because they are waiting for you to touch. The moment you touch, they'll shoot you." So well, he is older than me. He gave me good advice. So I withdrew I listened to them insulting us, and I didn't know what to do at that time. I'm at their mercy. And these guys are not real soldiers. They're only levies. They didn't do the actual fighting, you know. They're only what you call it, bullies, like that. They thought that they could bully me. Anyway, at that time, I didn't know what I could do. Then all of a sudden, another chief came along, and there was an army captain. He got down, he looked at what's happening, he saw me, and he said, "Kyaw Thein, the brother." No, I look at him, he's one of our school students, my junior. I used to play basketball with him. You know? So he recognized me, he said, "What happened?" I said, "That is, you know, these guys they think that they're going to shoot us." So he turned around and he senior to them, and he's in the army. He said, "You bloody fools, what the hell are you doing? These guys are heroes. They just fought for the government. You all are you're insulting their, you know, you are no good," and they abuse them and chase them out. So they felt very sheepish, and they said, "I'm very sorry," and all that, and they apologized, and they went. So when they went, I was angry, but there's nothing I could do. But I need to teach them a lesson. So I waited till my gun came. In a few minutes' time, my gun caught up with me. So I got to stop the gun, and I got my fellow to come down. I said, "Okay, you know, you see the jeep in front? Just fire a couple of shots over the head, you know, in the air." So when we fired 2 or 3 shots with our 40mm gun, they got scared and they stopped. From the road, they swerved and got into the paddy field and then drove off. We fired a few more rounds over the head. Oh, they disappeared. So the lesson was in battlefront, might is right. The guy who has the bigger gun can bully the guy with the smaller gun. But I nearly died that time if they shot me. And that would have been my number 6 episode. So you follow what I said
Yes, yes.
with this
Following.
episode? Yeah, good. All right. Then we'll go to 7 episode. I think we were on 6. Okay. So 7 episode is also our. Sorry, that was 6 episode. Number 6. 7 episode was still in the Navy. I was about to leave the Navy 1 year before. Then I was in command of a gunboat in the river. And I was going along the river in the Delta. And my crew were new crew. They didn't have much experience except the petty officer. So I made them do gun drill so at least they can do something if there's an emergency. So this is the boat that I was in command of, MGB 102. Well, we are going along that creeks, narrow creek where it turn according to the creek route. So on one turn, we went close to the bank. All of a sudden, I heard a big bang, and the boat shook, and they shot me from the bank, and luckily I was standing here up on the bridge, but they hit down in the hull, just here. So, and then the chief engineer from the boat climbed up and said, "Sir, we've got a big hole." And so I said, "Where?" Above the water. So it's not water not coming in. So I turned around immediately and then shot at the place that we were shot at. Yeah. And then finally, we sent a landing party, 6 guys with guns. We breached the boat and they jumped off, went to the spot, and we found that those guys, there were maybe 3 or 4 guys, they ambushed us. They left the gun and other things, they ran away. So we got their gun. They were using what you call a rifle rocket. Nowadays, they call it rifle rocket. They were using actually a rocket fired by rifle. But it doesn't, you cannot aim very well with that. But anyway, it was holed here. There's a boat there. It's a hole here. So we patched up the hole. And you can see the villagers all coming and standing there and looking at our hole. No, that was our episode in the Navy. My last episode. I nearly died. And then I'll go on to episode 8. That time I've left the Navy already. I'm a civilian. And I joined the first steamship that Burma government owned. And that ship was bought in Rotterdam in Holland and refitted there. We were sent by plane, the whole crew and our leading, to join the ship at Rotterdam. The captain and chief officer were English. They were already there. So when we arrived, they said, okay, they showed us our cabins and they said, all right, tonight you all rest. We are going shore to the hotel. You stay on board. And then in the morning, we'll continue and we start to open the articles and so on. So we were tired. We went to sleep. And about 2 in the morning, the quartermaster shouted, "Fire, fire, fire." Oh, we all woke up, there's fire. We didn't know where the fire was. So we said, "Where's the fire?" Oh, in a VIP cabin. So that is on deck. They had made a small new cabin for the VIPs. So that cabin the fire came from there. So right away, of course, being a senior officer in charge, I said, "Come on, we hadn't even practiced fire drill." So I had to say, "You do this, you do that," and so on. So I took a fire extinguisher, and the third officer followed me with the canvas hose and the nozzle, and then the crew were with the hoses. Where they go through an alleyway, and that's the only way that you can get the room. The door there's only one door, and then the engineer went down, started the pump, and they got the water. So I was in front with the fire extinguisher, and I kept the fire extinguisher like that. And I opened the door. The moment I opened the door, halfway, the flames rush out from the room. And luckily for me, the third officer was very attentive, I would say. He grabbed my boiler suit at the back, pushed me, pulled me back. And, if he had been slow by about 2 or 3 seconds, I would have been burned in my face. But right at the end of it, I just pulled back. I did get burned. My face was burnt, but I escaped from burned bodily. Then the water came on and all that, and we extinguished the fire. So that time, I nearly died due to fire. So that was episode number 8, I think. Yeah. So
Yes.
I would say I was lucky with that. Yeah. Then I will go now to episode number 9, the last episode that I nearly died. That is a very, very, I would say, you may think that it is it's most funny, or maybe you see what does it say? Episode number 9? What does it say? Car crash? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, good. So it says car crash. Go car crash. But I have to start why the car crash that I was driving. In those days, I was second officer of the ship. I own a car that I bought in England. I brought with the ship. It's a new car. And I was really very proud of it. And then I used to go and see my girlfriend. And then we go out with the car. But after I came back, when I went with the ship, I left the car at my father's place. My younger brother was given charge of it so that he can polish it and clean it up. He was not yet 16. He didn't have a driving license. But I let him clean the car, polish, and give him pocket money. Okay. So one day, when I came back from my voyage, I went to see my girlfriend. And she said, "Oh, when did you arrive, Rangoon?" I said, "Just a few hours ago." She said, "Oh, you have been here yesterday." I said, "No. Why do you say you have been here yesterday?" So she said, "My dad saw you in the car at the lakeside. So you must have been with a girl or something." So I said, you say yesterday, I was at sea. She thought I was bluffing. And I was, I had already arrived one day before. She was angry. So we had a row. So I left her. I went back to ship. Then I didn't feel very happy because it's not true. And I didn't know how to, tell her that. And next morning we were sailing. So I thought that I had a couple of hours to go and try and pacify her. So I handed over to the third officer, and then I went to my father's place to pick up the car. Then I I told my brother, look, have you been using my car? He said, no, I don't use a car. I cannot drive. Are you sure? Because somebody has seen the car at the look site the day before. So tell me the truth. I said, I want to know the truth. Then he said, yes, he said, I have been driving without license. Yeah, I did take my girlfriend there. So I was angry at him, but never mind, I'll deal with you later. I have to go and please my girlfriend. So I went back. I went to her place. Then I told her that now I know why the car was there. It's my young brother. He admitted to me just now. So I stayed there for a few minutes just to make sure that she understood. Then I got to go back because she was sailing. So I turned back and then I went back to the ship. That was during the rainy season. The roads were wet. So I was going along the highway and then another similar car overtook me. But that car had a 6-cylinder. Mine is a 4-cylinder. He overtook me. I didn't like that. The guy overtook me. Let me overtake him. So I chased him and I overtook him. After I overtook him, I went in a skid because the road was wet. And skidding is something you should never experience. When you skid in a car, you become out of control. If you brake, it'll go round and round. So you don't brake, you just tap it and then try and steer towards the safe side. And I was finding doing that, the car was going to the right side, the buses were coming, horning. So I tried to nudge as much as possible, saying my prayers. Then I went too much and I went to the left side into the ditch. Car went in the ditch and hit the ditch and stopped all of a sudden. The engine was running, but the car was stopped. It crashed like that. I put myself against the wheel. The pressure was, just so that I wouldn't hit my chest. So the wheel got bent. But I didn't touch my chest was safe. So I got down, unlocked the car, and then stopped the engine, locked the car again, and then I came up on the road. Then the guy who I had overtaken turned around. He saw the car went down the ditch, so he turned around and he came to me and he said, "How can I help you?" Very nice of him. He's a doctor, actually. I said, "Oh, thank you very much. I said, I'm sorry this happened. Can you take me to a ship? I'm going to sail the ship within half an hour." He said, "No problem. I'll take you there." So on the way to the ship, to the jetty, I had to pass my father's place. So I asked him to go in there. Then I went to see my number 2 brother and just give him the keys. And I said, "Look, you please find where the car is and fix it up." What happened? I said, "Don't ask me many questions. I have no time. I'm going on the ship." So I gave him the keys and I went. So the ship was about to sail. Passengers were coming on board. I went on board and then changed my shoes because it got all muddy. And then we sailed. The ship sailed about, I think, 9 o'clock or so in the morning. It takes us 4 hours to get to pilot station. After pilot station, then the pilot will get off and then we are on our own. So we did all this by ourselves. The captain just watched because we have been doing it every trip. So they're straightforward. So my duty was as second officer 12 to 4. So I had to go on duty again at 12. And then about 3 o'clock, the captain came up the bridge. And to have a look, we're already at sea. And this is an English captain. And he said, "Second," he said, "I don't know what's wrong with the office. They sent me a telegram, which is very strange." I said, "What is the telegram, sir?" It said, "How is the second officer?" They're asking, "How is the second officer?" So I said, "Then what did you reply?" So I replied, "Second officer is strictly sober, because I know you don't drink. And I also know third officer drinks like hell, but maybe they mistake third officer and second officer." So I replied, "Second officer is strictly sober." So I said, "I don't know. I think Probably they are worried
Yes.
about the accident I had in the morning. Huh? Oh, you didn't tell me about the accident. So I thought, well, there's no need for me to tell you my accident ashore. There's nothing to do with you or with the ship. So anyway, so this is what he said. Then after the trip, it takes about 10 days for the trip. When he came back, then I want to find out why the office sent this telegram to the captain. So when I went back to see my girlfriend, I met my father-in-law to be, or whenever it was, he was at the girl's father. He said, he said, you're very lucky. He said, I saw your car in the ditch on my way to office. So I had to look at the car. Your car steering had bent. He said, no, he said, so you must have hurt your chest. I was worried that you might be injured very badly. So I asked the port commissioner, the managing director, who is my friend, to send a telegram and find out how you are. So I was very relieved when they got a reply saying that you're all right. So that's what happened. And then, that accident was my last. And I think I was about 28 or 27 or 28. After that, up to now, touch wood, no more accidents, no more close shaves. But all this happened 9 times from 1-year-old to 29-year-old. So that's my cat with nine life story.